My phone lit up with a text from my mother. Leia, we think you should sit out the gathering this year. We'd like a calmer atmosphere for once. Each word stung with its careful cruelty. Then came the explanation. Matt is bringing his new fiancée, and we just want to avoid tension. I froze. 15 years of tradition unraveled in seconds. My name is Leia Monroe, 40 years old, and I had just been disinvited from the holiday celebration I'd faithfully hosted since I was 25. For over a decade, my Philadelphia brownstone had become a winter wonderland. I spent 3 days cooking elaborate meals, trimming rooms with garlands, lights, candles, and ribbon. Guests left with full stomachs and glowing hearts. And now, my family wanted to gather in Matt's sterile Baltimore condo, the same place they once dismissed as bland and soulless. I typed a curt reply, perfect. Enjoy the holidays. Her response was immediate. Don't be dramatic, Leia. You know how worked up you get. Matt and Alyssa just want something simple this year. Worked up. That's what they called my standards. When I spent 2 years restoring my pre-war brownstone by hand, they labeled me obsessed. When I built my pastry side business into a 6-figure boutique bakery, they called me stubborn. And when I launched Sweet Legacy, my party planning brand that made its way into modern living and food and table, they rolled their eyes and muttered the same word over and over. Intense. I set down my phone and glanced around my not-yet-decorated living room. December had only begun, but I could already picture the tree. Handmade ceramic ornaments collected from my travels, antique mercury glass baubles from Vermont. The delicate angel my grandmother gifted me before she passed. Instead of anger, I felt something lighter. Freedom. The phone buzzed again. You're not upset, right? We just thought it's Matt's turn. He's engaged now, and Alyssa's family is very proper. Proper, as though I had ever been improper. My brother, who never signed a lease longer than 12 months. His fiancée, who bragged about never cooking a meal. And me, the one they accused of being too much, though I was the only one who had ever hosted it all. I opened my banking app, smiled, then drafted a new Instagram post for Sweet Legacy. Exciting news. This holiday, we're hosting a special dinner for 20 single mothers and their children, right here in our founder's home. I hit post before texting back. Not upset at all. I've got other plans, and I did. Real joy wasn't about forced peace or polite, lukewarm evenings. It was about purpose, pouring love where it was valued, setting a table for those who never called you too much. That year, my house would be fuller than it had ever been. The next morning, I made 2 calls. First, to my friend Jasmine, director of the Kensington Children's Outreach Center. Everything's ready, she said, brimming with excitement. The kids can't wait. More sure than I've ever been, I told her, my chest warm. Then I called my agent. Yes, my agent, another decision my family had ridiculed as excessive. Contracts are signed, she confirmed. Food Network locked in your holiday. Special. Filming starts this week. I exhaled slowly. My phone buzzed again with 3 messages from my mother. What plans? You always host Christmas. Are you traveling? Leia, please respond. I silenced the phone and opened my thick, spiral-bound planner, the one Matt had mocked as a control freak's diary. Last year it contained seating charts and meal timelines. This year, it held something far more meaningful. A knock at the door interrupted my thoughts. It was Mrs. Betcham from next door, holding a tin of pecan cookies. Leia, sweetheart, I just saw your mom at the co-op. She says you're not hosting this year. The neighborhood's been buzzing. People plan their holidays around your party. Smiled. Don't worry, Mrs. Beckham. The party is still happening. It's just different this year. She tilted her head, confused but reassured. I closed the door and immediately received another text, this time from Matt. Mom says you're mad. Don't overreact. You know how intense your parties get. Alyssa's family likes things simple. Simple. That word again. I flipped to the centerpieces, page in my notebook, where I'd sketched room themes: sugar plum forest, North Pole kitchen, gingerbread workshop. My party was anything but simple, and it didn't need to be. Let them sip bland cider and exchange polite small talk. My holiday was about to change lives. The next 2 weeks flew by in a joyful blur. While my family sent guilt-laden messages, the Food Network crew filmed every moment of transformation. My brownstone came alive with light, scent, music, and color. On camera. I stood beside the soaring tree, shimmering with glass ornaments and satin ribbon. "This is our wish tree," I explained, gesturing to the decorations. "Each ornament represents a child's holiday wish fulfilled." Children squealed, with delight as snow machines dusted the entryway. My family had wanted calm. I created magic. And for the first time, I didn't crave their approval. I had something better. "If this moment touches you," the producer whispered, misty-eyed, "remember, Leia's story is only beginning." Every delicate ornament told a story, each crafted from handwritten wishes by children at Kensington Outreach. Snowflakes, stars, bells, fragile yet full of hope. My phone buzzed once more, this time from Alyssa, though clearly dictated by Matt. Mom says you're ignoring her messages. You're making things difficult for everyone." I smiled, silenced the phone, and returned to work. "Are you trying to ruin our engagement week?" I laughed under my breath. Last year they complained that my 7-course holiday dinner was excessive, a performance meant to show off. This year, apparently, my absence was the offense. Then, the headline appeared: "Local baker transforms brownstone into winter wonderland for children's home." The story spread quickly, complete with a photo of the towering wish tree glowing across the news site's homepage. Within minutes, my mother called. "Leia, what is this article? Are you doing this just to spite us?" I stood at the window, watching volunteers string lights across my front gate, humming as they worked. "No, Mom," I answered evenly. "I'm doing this because while you're all chasing peace, there are 30 children in this city who have never experienced a real holiday." There was silence. Then her voice came back, quieter than I'd ever heard it. "But what about family?" I didn't hesitate. "Exactly, Mom. What about family?" An hour later, my father's voicemail arrived. His usual growl softened into something close to concern. "Princess, your brother says Alyssa is upset. She thinks this party is about you stealing the spotlight. Can't you just go to their place for dinner? Keep it simple." But I wasn't about simple anymore. I was reviewing lighting cues with Jasmine when the front door opened, a draft of icy air rushing into the hall. Matt stood alone in the foyer, his eyes wide as he took in the transformation. The grand staircase was wrapped in garlands and gold. The dining room stretched into one long table set for 35 children and staff. In the kitchen, prep had already begun for the baking lessons we'd film: sugar cookies, gingerbread, hot cocoa from scratch. What is all this?" he asked quietly. I smiled and gestured around. "This is what the holidays should feel like. Not just calm, joyful, generous, alive." Then he noticed the camera crew in the parlor. "Is that Food Network?" "It is," I said. Turns out my so-called over-the-top parties were exactly what they wanted. The special airs Christmas Eve. His face flushed. "So this really is about showing us up." I handed him a folder filled with photos and letters from every child who'd be celebrating here. "No, Matt. This is about giving them the kind of magic I used to create for us, before it became too much for everyone else." He flipped through the pages slowly, his expression softening with each turn. "You should head out," I told him gently. "You've got a quiet dinner to plan. Alyssa's family is waiting. His voice echoed faintly as he left, the door clicking shut behind him. Jasmine squeezed my arm. Your brother looked floored. He's not the only one who'll be surprised, I said, double-checking the last page of my planning notebook. Everything was right on schedule. That evening, my mother called again, the third time in 2 days. Leia, honey, your father and I have been talking. Maybe we were a little hasty. Your house really is perfect for Christmas. Mom, I said gently, everything is already in motion. The Children's Center is counting on this. The Food Network crew is here. There's no turning back, she hesitated. I could almost hear her weighing the loss, not of me, but of attention, of being excluded from what had become the city's most talked-about holiday event. But we're still family, she offered. We are, I replied, watching volunteers hang delicate stars in the windows. And sometimes family has to learn that peace doesn't come from silencing someone. It comes from making space for who they really are. I ended the call. Almost immediately, a text came in from Melissa. Matt wants to know if you need more. Volunteers tomorrow. I smiled, already aware of how much he'd enjoyed helping. I added his name to the evening shift. Maybe some traditions were worth saving, just not in the way my family had imagined. By Christmas Eve, a fresh blanket of snow had turned the city into a postcard. My brownstone glowed with soft music and warm light, every window offering a glimpse of magic. Children arrived in small groups, coats dusted white, eyes shining with awe. Welcome to Holiday Magic, I greeted them at the door, my heart full as they stepped into the wonderland we'd built. Inside, joy bloomed in every corner. A cocoa bar, storytelling nooks, craft tables, cookie decorating stations. The wish tree sparkled in the living room, hung with ornaments carrying each child's handwritten hopes. The night before, Matt had helped string lights in the garden. Your sister keeps talking about quiet holidays, he said as we wrapped the banister with twinkle lights. But this is what the holidays are supposed to feel like. At 7 o'clock, Holiday Magic with Leia Monroe aired. I was too busy passing out scarves and decorating cookies to watch, but Jasmine kept me updated. The internet had exploded, and our little corner of Philadelphia was trending. At 8, the doorbell rang. I opened it to find Alyssa, her eyes red, her voice small. I just watched the special, she said softly. Leia, I'm so sorry. We were wrong. She stepped inside, taking in the warm glow, the laughter, the wonder. For years, people called me intense, but the truth was simpler. I was just creating magic. Behind Alyssa, my parents stood frozen, their faces a mix of shame and awe. My mother clutched a delicate handkerchief, eyes shimmering, while my father could only stare at the scene unfolding in my brownstone. Children bustled through the rooms, some decorating cookies in the kitchen, others laughing as they tried on fresh scarves by the fireplace. Music, light, and something deeper filled the air. Joy. My mother's voice trembled, breaking through the moment. The way those children look at you. It's the same way you used to look years ago when you planned Christmas before we started calling it too much. I stood in the doorway watching their faces as they absorbed everything. The glow of the lights, the harmony of voices, the warmth that touched every corner. Peace comes in many forms, I finally said. Sometimes it lives in silence, but sometimes it shines brightest in joyful chaos. My father stepped forward. Without a word, he wrapped me in a tight embrace. Princess, he whispered. We forgot what Christmas really means. Can you forgive us? Before I could answer, a small voice called out. Miss Leia, come quick. It was Sophie, the youngest from the outreach center. Tommy just found his wish ornament. I turned to my family, smiling. Would you like to see what true holiday magic looks like? They followed me past twinkling lights and paper snowflakes into the living room, where 8-year-old Tommy stood clutching an ornament, hands trembling. Inside was a note. "You've been matched with your new family. They're here to meet you, tonight." When his new parents stepped forward and knelt, Tommy bolted into their arms. Not a single eye stayed dry. Not even the Food Network crew, who quietly wiped away tears. My mother gripped my hand. "This," she whispered, "this is what you do. You make dreams come true." Across the room, Alyssa and Matt helped children frost cookies while leading carols. My father, usually so stiff, sat surrounded by kids begging for stories. His sternness softened into laughter. Later that evening, as hot chocolate was poured and the music grew gentler, my mother found me in a quiet corner. "When we said we wanted peace this Christmas," she admitted, "we thought it meant quiet. But this," she gestured to the glowing rooms, "this is peace. Watching dreams come true. Seeing love in action." "That's all I ever wanted," I said softly. Every Christmas dinner, every detail, it was never about perfection. It was about making magic real. The night wound down slowly. Sleepy children returned to the center, except for Tommy, who left hand in hand with his new parents. The film crew packed up, buzzing about making this an annual feature. As my family gathered their coats, Alyssa hugged me. "Our quiet dinner, tomorrow feels a little empty now," she teased. "Any chance our too intense sister could host instead?" I laughed, pulling out my planning notebook. I might have prepared for that already. From the foyer, my father chuckled. "Of course you did, Princess. You always think of everything." And so, Christmas Day found my family right here, in the home they once said was too much. This time, no complaints about decorations, no jabs at my planning, only gratitude for the magic and a new understanding of peace. As we sat down to dinner, my mother raised her glass. "To Leia," she said, "who taught us that peace doesn't mean simplicity. It's found in the joy of creating magic for others." I looked around at the faces I loved. Some changed, some softened, all together again. The greatest gifts, I realized, often arrive as unexpected lessons. And the truest peace is being seen for who you really are. So if this story touched you, even a little, share which part stayed with you. And if anyone has ever told you you're too much for caring deeply, remember this: your magic matters. Don't shrink. Create boldly. Love loudly. And if you believe in turning quiet pain into purpose, subscribe.